Hello and welcome to Gaming with the Scared Bear. This is going to be week 2 of my weekly builds leading up to Remnant 2 coming out next month. This week we're going to be doing a bleed build. I'm currently loving this build for the sustain it has and the damage output that is the potential it has for boss fights, and even making sure that you can survive in those situations where you are just surrounded by enemies. And so for the beginning of this build, we've gone over the rings. For one of the optional rings is the Razor Stone. It does bleed damage of 360 damage over 20 seconds with a charge attack from one of your melees. And for this ring, you'll just be able to randomly find it on courses. Next is the Blood Letters Insignia. This one will make it so any of the bleed damage you do, you'll get 10% of it back as health. And you'll be able to locate this in an event called the Warning Totems, located on a corpse near the end of the dungeon. And so for our necklace, we'll be using the razor wire necklace. This will make it so it'll be doing an extra 50% bleeding damage, and it'll also increase damage from ranged and melee attacks by 15% to anybody that has the bleeding status effect on them. And you can get this from Remnant. And then for our armor, we'll be using the Slayer armor set again. So this armor will make it so we get an extra 30% damage every time we reload, and it goes well with our Devastator, which is the main weapon for this build, because it only has one bullet in the magazine. On top of that, it'll give a 10% reload speed, which is even better for that Devastator. And you can get this from giving the Guardian's Heart to Iskall Queen and Corsus, and then you just buy the armor set from her. And so for our melee weapon, I do like to use a very specific melee weapon. I like the Scar of the Jungle God. This weapon is a bleed melee weapon, which is why it goes perfect with this build. In order to get it, you do have to go into the jungle and you have to go find the Ravager boss, but you do not want to fight him. Instead, while he's sleeping, you'll want to shoot the bells in a very specific order. It's 5 1 5 1 2 3 4 1, and then you'll be able to go speak with him, and he should just give you the melee weapon. And so for our ranged weapon, we'll be using the Devastator. The reason we're using this is for its weapon mod, which is Skewer. It'll be doing bleed damage along with a staggering damage as well. You can get this after beating the Unclean One on Corsus and just craft it. And then so I have two options for our handgun. One of them is going to be the same one as the last video. It'll be the Hive Cannon, just for that corrosive damage to have their armor when we're fighting them. Are really good for the boss battles, but that's about all I would use that for, is the bosses, in my opinion. And then so for our second handgun, this is my personal favorite to use, and it's just the submachine gun. You can really use anything that has an open weapon slot, but this is my preferred one just because it's close range and easy to use and can be obtained easily at the basement of Ward 13. And so really you can choose any gun you want here as long as you have that open slot, because the main thing you're going to want is the Fan of Knives mod. The reason we're going to be using this is because it does do bleed damage and sends out 7 knives, so it can hit multiple targets, and you'll be getting lifesteal from each one of those multiple targets. And in order to obtain this, you just have to beat the boss in the DLC from Remnant. You have to beat Tyan the Assassin, and then you'll be able to craft it back at the ward. Alright, so for our traits, we'll be doing Spirit, which you get at the beginning of the game. For our second one, it'll be Quick Hands, which can be from the Earth World boss, is where you get that one. Our next one is Triage, which you get from the Shrine of Immortals in Yesha. And then our next one will be Arcane Strike, from the World boss on Yesha. And then Tormentor, which you have to apply 100 status effects to enemies. Mind's Eye from defeating the Dreamer. Catalyst from beating the Thrall or Kanker on Corsus. And then our last one will be Concentration from the Cryptolith Sigil for the first time using it on the tower. Alright, and then here's a clip. You can see what it's like against the boss when we use the Hive Cannon. So generally the bleed will only do about 19 without the Hive Cannon, and then I'll just let the damage speak for itself once you get the full 5 stacks on it. And then here's one more boss fight. This is the one against Exilus. You can see how good the sustain is because there are 2 bosses for me to be able to get that bleed on and just get tons of healing from both sides. And you can also see how good the corrosion is when I am able to hit it on these ones. They're a little harder to hit because they do fly around, but you can get the stacks on it if you hit them just at the right time. And then lastly, I wanted to show out how good the sustain can be when you're in a horde of enemies with the fan of knives. So here you can see me get hit a few times, and then I'll go ahead and turn around and I'll use them. And you'll see my health just go up and down throughout this entire fight with the hordes of enemies. Alright, and this has been Gaming with a Scared Bear. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.